What is going on, guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be back to work on the super cheap Turbo Civic. Now, if you guys have been following along, you know that we've had quite a few issues with fuel injectors recently, but I think that's all going to change today. If you guys want to see the issues we had and all the boost runs we made trying to get those dialed in, make sure to go on the Honda playlist and check those videos out. But today is a new chapter, and I'm super excited to announce that Clean Injection has hopped on board and sent us a set of their injectors. So from here out, we will have a discount code for you guys in the description of every video, including this one. But they offer a huge range of different size fuel injectors and an injector to fit just about any project you guys might be working on. We decided to go with their 700 cc's. I think it's going to get us right to the point where we need to be with this car. They are E85 compatible, and they flow match every single set and provide you with a very nice data sheet, all right here in the USA down in Georgia. So make sure to go and check those guys out. But today we're going to get these things opened up, get them installed, and get to tuning. I'm really excited to see how these are to tune with and to share that with you guys, because hopefully we just found the best budget injector you can get for the money. So let's get through the intro and jump right into today's video. Now that we've gotten through the intro, let's get these things opened up. I'm really excited to check these things out. Then we can get them installed and go out and start making some boost. Let's get these things opened up so we can check them out. Now, first thing I'll say is I don't notice any rattles in the box when you shake it, which is always a good sign. These things weren't banging around. So let's go ahead and get the box opened up here. Packaging. It looks like an air freshener, which is cool. And then it comes with injector glide, so it's an O-ring lubricant for the injector O-rings themselves, which is really cool. I usually use Vaseline, but now we've got something dedicated, so we'll set that up there out of the way for a second. Super cool logo on the box itself. Let's get this thing opened up. Really cool little box. I like their logo and everything. Oh, it's logo inside too, branded. Some more packaging. Gotta have the cool stickers. I'm definitely a huge sticker guy. I love stickers. Don't always put them on the car, but we put them on something. So awesome to see that. Looks like we've got a little cool pamphlet here, installation guide. So that's cool. Let's set that out of the way as well. And then this set also came with these adapters. Now you can tell them if you're doing Honda stuff, you can tell them if you have OBD1 or OBD2. They seem to be nice and tight. So we'll get these opened up here in a second as well. And then the best part, we've got our injectors, random, but that's actually pretty cool. They got a neat little logo down in there, which is awesome. But we'll set this box over here out of the way for a minute and take a look at these injectors. Right here on the back where we can see it, you can see flow matching data. Ours were 706, 706, 706, and 706. So that's absolutely awesome. These things were flow matched perfectly right across the board. But let's go ahead and get this thing opened up. I want to check out these injectors and take a look at the data sheet. So grab a razor blade and get these bad boys opened up. And pull one of these bad boys out. That's pretty cool too. They are branded right here on the metal base part of the injector. Comes with the new O-rings right on it and this nice little cap to protect it. Everything looks really good. So I'm going to go ahead and set these back in here for now. Keep them nice and clean until we're ready to install these bad boys. Let's take a look at the grommet adapter. So that actually looks to be a nice, easy design that we don't even have to worry about. I like things that I don't have to worry about. So we'll go ahead and set these off to the side for now. Take a look at the most important part. So let's open up our flow chart here, our data sheet. So as you guys can see right here, we've got 706 across the board. So those were dialed right in. Tells you that the flow rate at 43.5 P.S.I. and 13.7 volts is 706 cc's. Now, as you can see over here, we have the injector offset matching data. So as you guys can see on our particular set here, it gives you the injector part number down here, like the number of injector or batch number, whatever you want to call it, that pertains to that exact injector. And as you can see here, the offset in milliseconds is 0.865 across the board on the money. Now, if we come down here to the part that we're going to be able to really utilize in our Hondata when tuning this thing, you can see our base fuel pressure at 43.5 PSI, 706 cc's that these injectors can flow. And then if you bump up the pressure all the way to 70 PSI, it gives us 890 cc. So that's really cool to see. And then, like I said, this is one of the most important parts because we really need these dead times here. So as you guys can see, this sheet comes with every bit of information we could possibly need to get the Turbo Civic dialed in. I'm super excited to get these things installed. So let's get the Turbo Civic fired up, pulled over to the garage. I'll get the old injectors ripped out, get these bad boys slapped in, and then we can finally start tuning and making some boost. Let's start pulling this thing apart so we can get our new injectors in there. So I'm not gonna go extremely crazy because I've showed how to do injector swaps a few times very recently on the channel, but I am gonna give you the quick rundown, and I'll make sure to show you anything that's different between installing the other ones I have and Clean Injection. So let's go ahead, get these things pulled out, and we'll get our new ones in. The first thing that we're going to do is loosen up our breather line and get that off and out of our way since we're using this D17 valve cover. Now we can start disconnecting our electrical connection adapters. We were currently running two separate adapters, one into the other, but if you order the proper kit from Clean Injection, they will send you a single adapter to go from whatever your harness is to the new injector. So let's go ahead and get all four of these unplugged, and we'll start removing these injectors. The next thing we're going to do is start unbolting our fuel rail. This would be a good time to drain the fuel or let the pressure off if your fuel system still has pressure in it. Make sure to wear safety glasses so you don't get sprayed in the face with gas. I've disconnected this return line in the past, but this time we're just going to go ahead, loosen the rail, carefully lift it up and pull an injector out and just let it drain that way. Just going to dump that fuel into our rag here and we'll get that out of the garage. Now I'm just going to go right down the line pulling each injector out. I use a rag to catch the fuel, try not to make a mess. So with our other injectors, we needed to use little top hat adapters for our fuel rail. They look just like this. They're just a size adapter for the injector itself. A lot of your aftermarket injectors need to use these because they have a bigger top section than the fuel rail will accept. But with our Clean Injections, we can actually take these right out of here. Now we want to get our lower intake manifold grommet adapters installed. These ones from Clean Injection are really nice. They use aluminum and then a factory style. So that's what we're going to do next. We'll get all of these pulled out of our intake manifold, get these put in, and then we can start installing our new injector. Now that we're ready to install our new injectors, you want to make sure that you use plenty of the Ejector Glide lubricant for these O-rings to help keep from tearing them. So we're going to make sure that we lube up both ends of the injector, both O-rings. Once we do, the way I like to do this is to get the injector started in the fuel rail. Once we have all four of them in the fuel rail, I'm going to go ahead and get them lined up with the intake manifold. Then we can gently wiggle it around and get this thing to drop down in there. Once again, making sure you don't pinch any of the O-rings. Once we get all four injectors seated in here nicely, I'm going to go ahead and get this thing bolted down, and then we can start plugging them in and get one step closer to trying these things out. Once you have these injectors fully seated, you want them to be in there snug, but you want them to be able to rotate on the O-ring. So if you grab where the plug is, you should be able to spin them a little bit. Now that we've got our injectors in and our fuel rail bolted down, we can go ahead and get these plugged in and finally give them a try. These are the adapters that came with the Clean Injection kit. I actually like them. They seem really tight. The wire's not loose or sloppy in there. I have confidence in these ones. They're all weather packed, so it looks like they should be good to go. And now we only need to run this one adapter. Before I had two. This one is designed for this setup, so we've got the car on one side, the injector on the other. We should be good to go. When you're installing these plug adapters, make sure you hear them click and seat firmly because they are a nice snug fit because of the weatherproofing, and you'll see why I say this in a little while, but make sure you hear them click and that they're seated all the way. Alright, we've got the injectors all plugged in. Before we put our breather line back on, I am going to go ahead and run the fuel pump, make sure we don't have any leaks or anything, and then we will be ready to start making a tune file for it and get this thing fired up. I'm going to hit the key a couple times and just prime it that way. If everything looks good, I'll get the laptop and we will turn the pump on that way and let it run for a little while. Do you guys see any leaks? Let's take a look. Alright guys, I don't see any leaks. Let's go ahead and get the laptop and we will start building a file. I'll also command the pump on just to make sure we don't have leaks. and I think we're finally going to be ready to try this thing. Now that we've got our new injectors installed, it's time to set up our new base file. Now I know I've showed you guys this quite a bit over the last few videos. I promise this will be the last one for quite some time, but we're going to use the data sheet that Clean Injection sends with their injectors and go through here and get this thing dialed in. I'm going to run through this pretty quick since I've showed you guys a few times recently, but if you want, you can go back and check out those videos if you haven't seen them, and I cover all of this stuff for those different sets of injectors. But we're going to go ahead and get our data sheet opened up here. We're going to go through and get this all set up here. Now, if you want to get a little bit more out of the injectors, you can run it at a higher pressure. They give you the dead times for all of that. Now, since we were running our 550cc injectors at about 50 PSI, because I was trying to get as much power as we could out of them before we maxed them out, that's where we're going to go through and set this up today. I'll verify our fuel pressure later, but I'm pretty sure I have it set at 50 PSI. Now, if you want the true 700 cc's, you can go down to 43.5 PSI. That's a great spot to be. That's what I would recommend. But like I said, we're already set up for 50 PSI because I was maxing those ones out. So that's what we're going to go with today. This injector set looks like you can get quite a bit out of it though. It looks like almost 900 cc's at 70 PSI. We're not going to go that crazy, but we are going to go 50. And then if you figure 20 to 25 pounds of boost on that, that'll put us up at about 75 PSI. So we should be good to go. Let's run through. We're going to enter all of our dead times here. And we're also going to go ahead and change up here in the top left where it says current injector size. We're going to change that from 550 to 739, since that's what we're going to be running at 50 PSI. Then we can come down to our injector voltage compensation tables here. And as you guys can see, I'm just going to use this whole column right here. So I'm just going to blow through that really quick. Under 0 volts, because it's never going to be there, we're just going to go with 2.2. And then if we go to the right one, we're going to go with 2.659. Then we can go to the right once again. So for 10 volts, we're going to want to use 1.727. Then we want 1.253, 0.950, 0.721. And then here we're just going to go 0.70. And then just because I'm OCD, I'm going to go ahead and change these ones down here quick. We're not using staged injection, but I just like them to match because I'm weird. Then we can come up here to fuel trims. Now this is going to take a little bit of playing around with to get it right. For cranking fuel trim, we had it at 30% for our 550s. I'm going to just change that to 25. I ended up setting throttle tip-in at -30%, and it seems to work out pretty good. Car seems really happy and smooth. Then I've got my cylinder differential here. I just got 1% added on cylinder 2 and 3. Fuel compensations. So we could go through here and make a whole bunch of changes to our intake air temp and engine coolant temp corrections and all that. But we're not going to go crazy right this second. I want to put it in with just a basic file like we just made and just see what the car does, and then we can make our adjustments from there once we have the car running. One more thing I am going to do in here real quick is I'm just going to go ahead and disable our boost control just so that we don't have any mess ups here and I go to floor it and we make 20 plus pounds of boost right off the bat. We're just going to go ahead and turn it off. We'll take it for a ride, see how close we are on 6 pounds or whatever, and then we can come through, turn it on, and start upping it from there. So let's go ahead, flash this to the car, we'll hit the key and see if it starts. So I wanted to take a quick second to share with you guys a couple clips from the Clean Injection facility. These guys really seem to take pride in what they're doing, and it shows, especially in today's world where every company is trying to create the cheapest possible product that gets the job done just enough for you not to return it. It's absolutely awesome to see them taking the extra time and money to make something cool. As simple as their designs on the boxes, the cool packaging, the air fresheners, the stickers, just everything they do to make it so that the customer feels appreciated. Not to mention their awesome flow match data sheets. They really want to see you guys succeed with these things, and it's absolutely awesome to see them take that pride in it. So I really think you guys should go and check them out. Once again, huge thank you to Clean Injection for hopping on board with the channel. We really look forward to working with you guys in the continued future. But let's hop back into today's video and get the Turbo Civic fired up. Let's go ahead and see how it does for the first try here. Intake air temps are 55, coolant temp was about the same. It's already up to 70. but our coolant temp correction's at 20%, so it's gonna be really fat for a minute here. It's actually not all that bad even. All right, so we let this thing sit here and idle for a little bit. It's up to 180 degree coolant temp, 60 degree intake air temp. AFRs are right around 15 to 51, pretty dang solid. Now we could fatten it up just a tiny bit, but I want to take it down the road and just see how close the rest of the map is. Now we'll obviously do more of this tomorrow when there's light and you guys can see a little bit better, but I can't help myself. We got to at least take it down the road real quick. So let's go take it for a rip and see how close this thing is. I'm not even gonna lie, guys, the tune seems extremely close. If anything, it was just a touch fat up top, but bigger injectors, that's to be expected. Cruising's really close. It sounded a little weird. I got out of it because of the sound, but I forgot we have boost control off, so the gate is basically opening right away and staying open, and it dumps right under my feet, so I can hear it loud and clear. Whereas normally the gate doesn't open very much because we run a decent amount of boost. Alright guys, so it is the next day, and as you guys seen it last night, I couldn't help it. We had to take this thing for a ride, and I have to say, this thing is extremely close. We made absolutely zero changes to the tune, minus what you guys seen, just dialing in the new information for the new 700s. So I was really impressed with how this thing fired right up, and it actually ran pretty good. So the next thing we're going to do is get this thing fired back up. I'm going to let it get up to temp. We'll go take this thing for a ride, start doing some logs. We do still have the boost controller turned off. I want to see what it does on gate around 6-7 PSI. If everything looks good, we'll start turning the boost control back on and upping the boost to get back to where we were with the 550s, and I'm sure we'll have some headroom to go. Now, like I mentioned yesterday, you definitely want to set your base pressure with these injectors because you have all the data to do so. So it's definitely a good idea. If we have the data, we might as well use it. Now, if you guys still have a stock fuel rail and a stock regulator setup, I would definitely consider going with something either like the Evil Energy, or even you can get the regulators to mount to the stock rail. I've never used one. I've heard good and bad about them, but to be able to control your pressure is definitely ideal, especially with these injectors that we have the data for it. It's just going to make everything work much smoother and keep you from having weird tuning issues. If you have the stock regulator and rail setup, this thing might be making crazy pressure at idle, or it might just get out of hand when you're in the higher RPMs. So definitely recommend having a way to set your base pressure. So let's fire this thing up. I'll verify base pressure, then we'll go take this thing out and make some rips. Let's go ahead and get this thing fired up. Alright, let's go take it for a ride and see what this thing does. So I'm going to try something different with the audio settings today, guys. So if the audio is a little weird, we'll know for next time. I used to always have the wind setting set to auto, but today I changed it to off because I feel like it keeps cutting my voice out. So we're going to go ahead and give it a shot. If it sounds weird, I apologize, but I'll know for the next video. But let's go ahead and give this thing a little bit of throttle and we'll see what it does. I have to say, drivability wise, it seems like it drives great. AFR, we could do a little bit of tweaking, but it's actually really freaking close. I'm actually really surprised. Thought we were going to be starting over from square one again. AFR looked like it went right where we wanted it to once we're into boost. So we'll have to take a look at the log here in a minute and see if we're close. And if we are, we can run it out a little further, turn it up a little bit more, and keep working our way up. Transmission is not happy though. We'll go ahead, take a look at what we have for data here, and then we will make some changes and start going up from there. All right, guys, so we just pulled over for a minute to get fuel, and we're gonna go ahead and take a look at this thing. So as you can see, drivability, it's not crazy far off. Everything's like 2 to 4%. Couple 5s and 6s out here. All this is kind of like off throttle, like transition periods, but we'll clean it up anyways. Like I said, it's pretty close, especially in boost. In boost, it was within 3% all the way across. That's in a spot where we usually don't do much tuning because we're usually not down around 7 to 7 pounds. So we're gonna go ahead and clean it up anyways while we're right here. Very easy to do. We'll run through, get it all cleaned up, and then we will turn the boost controller on and start feeding this thing a little bit more boost. I'm comfortable enough with how close it was to turn the boost control back on. So we'll enable it. We're gonna take that down from 60. We're gonna go 50% duty cycle. Not sure what that's gonna make for boost. Hopefully around 10 pounds or so. And then we're gonna turn our quick spool all the way down to 5 PSI. Actually, let's go 6 PSI. So I'm gonna go ahead and save this file, and then we will flash it and take this thing for another ride. Not sure what it made for boost yet, but we'll take a look. Let's go ahead and check that file and make some changes. This transmission is getting more and more pissed off by the minute. Now it gets real unhappy at the top of second before we shift to third. It's grind going into third for quite some time now, but it's definitely, we're gonna have to figure something out with it. Whether we pull this one and rebuild it, or I find one to build. All right, guys, so as you see, we took this thing for another little rip. Been fighting some congestion on our closed course today, but as you've seen, we made some changes before when we stopped to get fuel, and we have a whole bunch more 0s and 1s across our little drivability section here. So super happy with that. We've still got a little bit of cleaning up we can do, but nothing too big, nothing too major. So that's nice and easy. I'll go through and make some changes there. And then in our VTEC table, where we made changes looks good. Some areas I added a little bit of extra fuel to make it look good, and I guess I went a little too far. So we'll pull some fuel out right through here, and then we can go ahead and try this again. But everywhere in boost looked to be really good. It looks like we can add about 4% all up top here. It seems like a pretty consistent across the board 4%. So I'll probably go ahead and add that all the way across, because I would always rather have to pull fuel out than have to put fuel in, just out of a safety standpoint. But looking at the wideband gauge, everything looked extremely close. So really happy with what we're seeing here. I'm gonna make some changes. We'll go to our boost controller here in a minute, turn that up some more, and go make another rip. Let's go to parameters again, and we will turn our boost controller up a little bit. Let's go 58%, see what it does. Not sure what that's gonna give us for boost, but we'll try it out and go from there. And then for quick spool, we're at 6 PSI. Pretty confident we could go up to 8. And we should still have plenty of room if we wanted to go higher with that. We've got that set at 8 for now, and we can fine tune that down the road when we're ready. But for now, I think we're good to go. So let's go ahead and flash this to the car, and we'll go take it for another ride. AFRs looked really good. If anything, it might have been a little bit on the fat side in the higher RPMs, but it seemed really, really close. So we'll take a look at that log real quick and then decide if we need to make changes and try again, or if we're good to turn the boost up even a little bit more. All right, so drivability looks pretty dang good, to be honest with you guys. I'm not worried about it because how good it does drive. So I'm not even gonna stress that, but let's go ahead and take a quick look in boost. And yeah, in boost, it looks really good. A bunch of 0s and 1s. A couple spots, it looks like we could take a tiny bit out. Right here, I was holding it above the VTEC crossover because where we were on our track, I had to hold it at kind of a weird RPM. So I'm gonna ignore these right here because I was on and off the throttle. So I was probably tripping it out a little bit. The fact that everything around it seems very close tells me I don't really want to mess with that right now. But we're gonna go ahead and just clean up a couple spots that it's asking us to. But let's go ahead and take a look at the graph just real quick and see what it made for boost. Looks like it made about 15 pounds at peak, 15.2. AFR looked really good, almost rock steady. Curious what the duty cycle is right now. Highest we seen was 62% duty cycle, so that's awesome to see. All right, since I'm happy with what we're seeing here, let's go ahead and turn the boost up a little bit more. Go to 63%. That's usually where this thing lives. It should be right around 20 pounds. So we'll bring quick spool up to 12 PSI, and we'll go ahead and give that a shot. Way up in the RPM, high boost there. It looked like it could use some fuel. So we'll have to go ahead and take a look at that log real quick. But this thing is absolutely ripping, and I'm probably pretty happy at that boost level. It seems like the car's happy there, and it just seems good on pump gas. So we might go ahead and rock with that for now, and we'll just have to see how it does, and we can always turn up the boost a little bit more later. Hell yeah, guys. This thing just made 22 pounds and seems very happy. This thing was absolutely ripping. Let's see what our duty cycle was on our injectors. Right at 80% at 22 pounds, 21.5, 22 pounds. For right now, I think this is a great spot to be for daily driver. It's on 63% duty cycle for the boost controller. Makes right around 21 to 22 pounds of boost. We're at 80% duty cycle on the injectors, so they're plenty safe. Obviously, we'll lean on this thing a little bit later in an upcoming video and max these things out more, see what we can make for boost. But for pump gas and daily driving, I think this is a perfect combo. Once again, 21, 22 pounds of boost, and this thing is absolutely ripping, and it seems really, really happy there. And we have perfect control. Everything looked really good. The AFR stayed consistent right across the board. So I'm gonna go ahead and get our VTEC table cleaned up here, add a little bit more fuel out top here. And then our drivability, I already cleaned it up quite a bit. It's looking really good. Whole bunch of zeros and ones, which is what we like to see. But I'll get the VTEC table all cleaned up here, and then we'll go make another rip. I am gonna go in here and up our quick spool just a little bit. Since we know we're making 21 to 22 pounds, I am gonna go ahead and up this to at least 14 PSI for now. So I think 14 is a good spot to be. Later on, we can always play with that more and get it dialed in perfectly. The idea is to get quick spool up as high as you can, as close to your target boost as you can, without it causing it to overshoot and then surge. So for now, we'll go 14 and see what it does. So as you guys can see, even though we let this thing sit here while we were tuning and then left the hood shut, fired it up, it's still very consistent with its AFR, right at 14.7 or so. So we're not having those engine bay heat issues that we were having with the other injectors. So really happy to see that. These things seem to drive really good and be really consistent. So that's all I really need out of an injector, is it to be consistent, and we can do the rest with tuning. So super happy with what we're seeing right now. Let's go take this thing for another 22 pound of boost run and see what it does. Right there, it ripped. They wanted to blow the tires off in third. It never does that. Absolutely flying. AFR looked pretty close. Looked like we might even have to add a tiny bit more, but the changes that we just made, this thing rips. Between turning quick spool up to 14 and then also adding a little bit of fuel, this thing seemed extremely happy. Absolutely rips, guys. Holy crap. I'm fun little road course car too. I forgot to mention I did add a little bit of fuel on tip-in, which it made it much smoother on the shifts. I don't know if you guys noticed before, it was bucking a little bit in between shifts. Added a little bit of tip-in fuel, and now it's smooth as can be. All right, let's go take a look at this log and go from there. All right, guys, let's go ahead and take a look at this last log. Let's see what it made for boost first, just because I'm curious. Yep, right around 21.5 pounds, 21.6. So doing good. Injector duty cycle right at 80-ish%, so not too shabby. Keep in mind we are still on pump gas, so for E85 we're definitely going to be pushing the limits of this thing, but we're going to have a little while before we go E85. For right now, these things are going to be perfect. If you had something that was very mild that you were going to keep on pump gas, that you didn't want to make more than 22 to 25 PSI, I think these 700s would be absolutely perfect. Now, if we really need to get a couple more pounds out of it, we could crank up the base pressure a little bit more, gain some more headroom. I just don't want to put that much pressure on our fuel system because you're going to add boost to whatever we add for base. So let's go ahead and look at our table here in drivability. And as you guys can see, this thing is cleaning up so nicely. All zeros and ones through here. Down in here, these numbers are always going to be a little skewed. I mean, I might play with them a little bit. We'll clean these up a little. But for a lot of this, it's just going to be a little off because you're coming on throttle, off throttle, and it's just not going to be 100% perfect there. But where you are cruising and when you're actually holding constant so it can actually get readings, everything is looking fantastic. Mostly zeros with a couple ones in there. So not very much work left to do here. I might mess with it a tiny bit, but for the most part, I would send this down the road and daily it with that file right there. Perfectly fine. So let's take a look at what it did under boost this time, see if we cleaned it up. Once again, guys, under VTEC here, this thing is looking really good. A lot of zeros, a couple ones and twos, but they're all saying to pull fuel out, if anything, and I'd much rather have it on the rich side than the lean side. So it's looking really good. I'm super happy with it. We could clean this up a little bit, but I do like to keep it a little on the fat side, so that doesn't bother me one bit. I would rip it just like this without any concerns. I might clean it up a little bit just because of my OCD, but honestly, I would absolutely rock it just like this without a single concern. So I'm really happy with how this thing's looking, and I think that's about where we're gonna leave it right now for boost. We're right at 22 pounds, so I'm pretty happy with that. In the future, I will be turning this thing up here probably sooner rather than later. But for now, I think I'm going to daily it just like this and have a whole bunch of fun with this car. So as you guys can see, the Turbo Civic is absolutely ripping. This thing is running smoother and more consistent than it ever has before. And I'm not just saying that because Clean Injection's hopped on board with the channel. I'm saying that because it's flat out true. Now, these guys really seem to take pride in what they're doing, and it really shows. I am confident in saying that we have found the best budget injector on the market. So make sure to go and check them guys out and show them some love. I will have a link to their website as well as a couple discount codes for you guys to save a few bucks on your next set. Once again, huge thank you to Clean Injection for supporting the channel. And as always, I appreciate you guys for checking out the channel. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, ring that bell, and check us out on all of our other social media platforms, Facebook, TikTok, and Bought to Build Official on Instagram. And we will catch you on the next one.